Creators and influencers, if you've ever wondered how you can get one after another brand deal set up without doing any of the work except for creating the production, stick around. I'm going to show you what I call the 9 steps to success. So this is the real hands-off way that influencers get their brand deals set up, right? Now there's a lot of work that has to be done, and I'm going to show you how I can do it all for you if that's what you prefer. But even if you want to do it yourself, these are the 9 steps you're going to follow. Now keep in mind, these are going to vary a little bit, right? Different types of deals are going to get set up different ways. So there's always going to be, you don't have to post down below, but I do it this way. There's a lot of different ways to do it, right? But these are this is the main 9 steps that you're going to follow to take the deal all the way through, from that first contact to getting paid and having that content placed online, right? So first is what we call outreach, or what I call pitch, right? But this is where you reach out to the brand, and either you reach out to them or they may reach out to you, right? If you're good, or I don't want to say if you're good, because there's a lot of great influencers that don't have brands reaching out to them yet. But you know what I mean? Some of you guys just, you don't need to reach out to brands anymore because you've got a clientele, your stable is full and you've got brands reaching out to you. But so the first one, the outreach, or like I said, what I call the pitch, is when you reach out to brands cold to promote or introduce yourself, to propose the collaboration. Second is the negotiation stage, right? Now, the first step, let's go back to that a little bit first. The outreach, it can be done in a lot of different ways. It can be done through sending DMs, going to the brand's website and send them a message. It can be done by going to the brand's social media and reaching out to them that way. For the most part, though, this is done by email. And, I've had people say, well, I have better luck contacting them this way or that way. It all works, but typically email is considered to be more professional, I think, in this way. Now, if you're going to be reaching out to them by email, I suggest you get yourself a professional email address. Don't use a Gmail address or a Yahoo address. First off, because those tend to get caught more in the spam filters. But you just present yourself a little bit better if you've got a nice professional email address. So we'll have another video sometime about what to say, so I'll give you some scripts that you can use, some templates to reach out. But so the first is outreach. The second is the negotiation stage. And this is where you've kind of agreed in principle to collaborate with the brand, but you haven't come up with the terms yet, right? Basically, this is the brass tacks. This is when you're talking about money, like how much do you need to produce the content for them? What kind of content do they want? I mean, it could be a live stream you're doing for them, which changes a lot of this. If you're doing live streams, it changes. That's probably what changes the order of these the most. But are you giving them content that they're going to keep and use on their own in the future? Is it a one-time deal? Are you negotiating for multiple pieces of content? Are you doing more than one thing? So that's the second step. Once you've reached out, you made that first contact. They said, well, let me hear what you got. This is the negotiation where you kind of start going over the terms, right? How much is it going to cost? What are you going to do, etc. Number 3, and this is the part, don't skip this, is the contract. And unless you're brand new to the game, I'm sure you have a contract. And again, I'll make another video someday about all of these, and I'll give you some contracts you can use. But so you've agreed to the terms. You basically, here's what we want, here's how much it's going to cost. You want to put it on paper because you don't want them to come back to you later and say, oh, well, we said this or we said that. What you say doesn't matter. What's written down and you've got a signature on, that's what matters, especially in a court of law. Hopefully you never have to go there. I've never had to go there for anything like this, right? I've never been sued. Knock on wood. But get it on paper, right? Maybe for the first time, go to an attorney and have him have him or her draw up a contract for you. But there are a handful. Even if you get one online, it's probably worth $100 to send it to an attorney and have them overlook it. Have them say, yeah, this is good. Now, My experience with attorneys is anytime you bring them a contract, they're never going to say, yeah, that's good. They're going to say, that's good, but because they can charge you more if they make some changes. But anyway, get yourself a good contract. Reach out to some other influencers, find out what they're using. Maybe somebody can give you one that they've already had approved, right? Number 4 is the concept, where basically, what are you going to do, right? You talked about it a little bit up above in the negotiations. You talked about the format that you're going to produce. Well, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. Step 4, the concept. This is when you really narrow it down, right? Review the influencer brief and submit a concept to the brand agency, even if they haven't asked you. They may not say, they might just say, well, make what you want to make, pitch us good, I trust you. That usually doesn't happen, but they might just say, do your thing, talk about us, whatever it is, especially if they're a brand that hasn't done this much, right? Maybe they've only done 1 or 2 brand deals. Maybe you're their first, influencer marketing deals. Maybe you're the first time they've hired an influencer. Even if they say they don't need it, you should send them on paper, like just at least a rough outline of what you're going to do. I'm going to do this, and here's my script, right? Because if you don't have it on paper and you spend all the time creating it, and then you send it to them and they say, oh, well, we don't like the way you said this, and we don't like that, we don't like what you got in the background, whatever it might be. Most of the time, they're going to be able to send you a brief that's going to show you kind of what they want you to do, right? And then just get it on paper, right? Just like you got to have the money on a contract and when you're going to have it done by, the payment terms. The brief, this is kind of like a contract for what you're going to say more specifically, right? So review if they give you a brief, review that, submit your concept to them, let them see exactly what you're going to do within limits. You might change things a little bit, because especially if you're doing a live stream, right? Things can change quickly, but get them to review it. Send them what you're going to do, have them overlook it, have them say, yeah, that sounds good, and then move on to the next step, which is the production. This is the only part we can't help you with, right? And of course, I'm hoping that you're going to let us do all this for you. There's a whole lot of work in all this crap. I mean, the contract and the reaching out, and the cold calls, and the negotiations, and you're probably in better hands now. I said probably. Some of you guys are great at doing this yourself, and you'd rather not pay an agency our percentage or whatever it is that you want to do. But in a lot of cases, using an agency for this, and I didn't want to talk about this till the end, but in a lot of cases, using someone like us to do this for you, we can get enough more money out of the brand to pay our fee, and you still end up getting the same amount of money, right? So anyway, let's go back. So this is when you create the the content, and you deliver it to the brand or their agent to review it, right? And then you're going to get feedback. So you're going to agree on paper what you're going to do. You're going to you're going to agree on that. You're going to create the content. And before you publish it, right, before you put it out on your social media, whether it's a video, whether it's a post or whatever it is, you're going to send that to them, and hopefully they don't give you a lot of edits, right? Hopefully it's great. And that's why you want to have the concept agreed on above, so you don't have to make a lot of reshoots or edits and that type of thing. And I always tend to talk more about video, like reshoots, but if you're making Instagram posts, it's obviously a lot easier to make an edit than it is to edit a video where you might have to reshoot something. But so do the production. Step 6 is the feedback. You send it to them for their okay, for their approval. Hopefully they don't tell you to change a lot, and then you publish it. That's step 7. This is the phase where you publish the content and deliver the live links to the brand or to their agency or to everybody or whatever it might be, right? And your work isn't over at that part. Now you're going to do the analyze. This is where you invoice the brand if you haven't been paid yet. I like to get 50-50, like some up front. Of course, this is going to vary on every deal, right? But this is where you invoice the brand agency, provide tax and vendor paperwork, as well as the post-campaign report. This is one that changes quite a bit from deal to deal. You know, you're going to talk about this up in the contract in step 3. But in a lot of cases, you might send this to them sooner, right? You might send them an invoice sooner. It really depends how you want to do it. But this is when you invoice the brand agency, provide your tax, vendor paperwork, whatever you need. And you're going to do the post-campaign report. This is the review, right? You're going to send information. They should know based on how you set this up, if they're getting clicks, if they're getting feedback, if they're getting sales, depending on what their goal is for hiring you in the first place. But this is when you're gonna, you're gonna give them a report on what you've done and what you see from your side, clicks, stuff like that. And then step 9, plant seeds for next time. And this is something that I don't think a lot of influencers do. Oh, thanks so much, bye. Plant a seed for next time. Set yourself up for the next deal. By asking questions. How often do you do this? Have you worked with influencers before? These are little things you should be taking notes on through this whole process. You should always be thinking about your next deal with them, right? Assuming it's a successful campaign, you want to do it again with them in the future. You want to set yourself up and start talking about it now, right? You could even ask them, assuming that that we do a great job for you, when can we do something else for you again? Don't be afraid to ask, right? You already got this deal, so start setting yourself up for the next one. And it's easy to be a little gun shy, right? Well, I don't want to start, I don't want to blow it, I don't want to be too pushy. Be pushy. You got to be pushy. In a good way, right? In a positive way. So start talking about your next deal. How often do you do this? Do you usually do repeat, statistically in marketing, in sales, people need to see things multiple times before they buy. Use that to your advantage, right? Mention to the brand. You're probably going to have better luck having us do something once a month for you for 6 months to really push you and get you in front of my fans and my followers and that type of thing. So at least plant some little seeds for the next time. So reach out, get in touch with the brand, negotiate a deal, sign the contract, determine exactly more specifically what the content's going to include, produce the content, get it to them for their feedback, publish it, put it out for the world to see, analyze how the whole deal went, and then plant some seeds for next time. And I know this has been a relatively short video. I tend to talk long, and I tend to make what I intend to be a 5 or 6 minute video into an hour video. And I purposely said when I sat down for this one, I'm going to go through it quick and just give you some nice guidelines to follow. But there's a lot of work involved in all of this. Do you feel like you spend more time chasing sponsors than creating content? That's what we're for. At AI Sprinkled, well, I'm the guy at AI Sprinkled, but if you want Deacon Nick to do it all for you, just send an email to nick@aisprinkled.com. You can go to my website, aisprinkled.com, and get some information. But like I said before, we can get a little bit, enough more money out of the brand that it'll pay for our fee without cutting down. You just tell me how much you need to get to make the content. We'll work with it, right? So, but if you don't like the reach out, if all you want to do is create your content, let somebody else do all this work, we're your guy. Give us a call. Also, if you don't have an email list, and this is a whole other video, but if you don't have an email list of your fans, it's ban insurance. There's 100, well, maybe not 100. I can give you at least 12 reasons why you should have an email list of your fans to send a newsletter and all this other stuff. But we've got a free course at the unknown link. I don't know why it keeps doing that, but it's at Influencer School Kit. School.com, SKOOL.com/influencer school kit. So again, I'm Deacon Nick. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you got something out of this. Send me an email if I can help you with anything. And I never know how to end these things or even turn the damn thing off. But send an email if I can help with anything. And happy hunting. Take care.